Imagine reaching the top, achieving what many people spend their lives trying to achieve. $4 million in the bank at the age of 26. Life seemed perfect for David. He had the world in his hands. But suddenly, the ground disappeared. In a matter of months, his entire financial empire collapsed, and he went from being a millionaire to having nothing. Worse still, with 2 young children, David found himself in a desperate situation. Winter was coming, and he didn't even have the money to fix the heater in his house. A feeling of helplessness came over him. How had he got there? How, after so much success, was he about to fail his own family? It was at that moment, in the midst of despair and frustration, that David made the decision that would change his life forever. He knew he had to do something different. The way he dealt with money had led him to rock bottom, and the only way out was a complete transformation. David made more mistakes along the way, but each failure brought a valuable lesson. And so he began his journey that has led him to where he is today, a millionaire again. He's a successful entrepreneur, podcaster, and runs a YouTube channel where he shares his experiences and strategies for achieving financial freedom. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video. The strategy David used to get from nothing to becoming a millionaire again. He calls this strategy total money transformation. Step number 1, initial emergency fund. But what exactly is an emergency fund, and why is it so important? Come on, I'll explain it to you. The first step in this transformation is to set aside an amount of money to cover small emergencies, those unexpected expenses that come up when you least expect it. David suggests $1,000, but as not everyone is in the United States. Depending on your location and reality, you can adjust this amount. Now, it may seem easy to some, but for many, saving this amount is a challenge, especially if you've never been in the habit of saving money or if you're facing debts. But don't worry, even if it takes longer, the important thing is to get started. Take the first step and stay focused. This emergency fund won't solve all your problems, but it will serve as a safety net. Think of it as an umbrella on a rainy day. It doesn't stop the storm, but it protects you enough for you to carry on without getting wet. It may not be enough to deal with major emergencies, but it will prevent you from panicking over any small unforeseen event, such as a home repair or an unexpected doctor's appointment. And a crucial tip, keep that money accessible, but not so much that you're tempted to spend it on something that isn't a real emergency. Remember, buying a new phone or taking that dream trip is not an emergency. Step 2, get out of debt. The author says that for some people, debt is a way of life. If you've barely finished paying off your car, and you're already planning to take out a consortium in order to trade it in for a newer model, that's you I'm talking to. David says that many people think that debt is the best way to grow and achieve new things. That's what most people think. But with the total money transformation, you won't think and act like everyone else because most people aren't millionaires. The rule is, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. Before you started this transformation, you used your credit card when you needed to pay for things and didn't have the money immediately. It could be things you wanted like new shoes, or it could be things you needed like a car repair. Now you'll use the money from your initial emergency fund to pay for the things you need, and you know why? Because from now on, no credit cards ever. I know you're probably thinking that the author is crazy and that credit cards are the best way to control your bills. Buy more expensive things without disturbing your monthly budget and make your life easier. But according to the author, this is all a myth. More than 70% of people don't manage to pay off their credit card every month, so they miss out on all the advantages they could have had because of the interest. Besides, do you know what the best way to spend less is? Seeing the money. When you use a credit card, you don't realize that the money is going away. It's just numbers that you don't have to worry about until you see next month's bill. So when you use your credit card, you think, it's okay if I just spend an extra $10, it's only $10. Now, if you have a stack of $10 bills in your hands, and you start using a bill here and a bill there, and you start to notice that your stack is getting smaller, you can see your money going away. Imagine now having $100 in cash in your hands and using all that money to buy clothes in a store. It's not as pleasant as carrying home lots of bags and pretending you didn't need to pay attention to the numbers, is it? Buying things with money is unpleasant, and it's supposed to be. Your hard-earned cash is going away. You need to make sure it's worth it. Think about it. If credit cards were good for you, why would banks give them away for free? And would they try so hard to convince you to take them, even when you don't want to? It's because they're great for the bank, not for you. Few people have any real idea of how much debt they've accumulated. They focus on the amount of money they have to pay each month and forget that these payments will last for years. How many years will it take you to pay off your house? What about your car? Don't forget your credit cards and that money you owe your brother. Put it all down on paper and you'll see that your debt is much bigger than you think. Paying off debts is probably your biggest monthly expense. Imagine if you could stop making all those payments. How much money would be left over every month to buy the things you love? That's the idea. Pay for what you want in the present and stop paying for your past. So let's start right now. Get all the necessary documents and make a list of your debts in order, with the smallest payment first. For now, you can ignore things like interest rates. In the item column, write down what your debt is. The total payment is how much you still have to pay before you pay off that debt. Use this figure to rank your debts from smallest to largest. So the smallest debt should be at the top of the list and the largest at the bottom. Minimum payment. Write down the minimum you need to pay every month so that your debt doesn't get even bigger due to interest. In our example, let's say you earn $1,000 a month. First, deduct your basic expenses such as food, rent, clothes. Let's say your basic expenses add up to $500. Now pay the minimum payment on all your debts except the first one on the list. In that case, you pay for your vacation and your car loan, which add up to $350. In the end, you've earned $1,000 minus $500 for your basic expenses and $350 for your other debts, leaving you with $150. Use all that money to pay off your first debt. In our example, it's your credit card debt. When that first debt is completely paid off, do the same with your second smallest debt. You'll find that this second debt, even though it's bigger, will be easier to pay off because you no longer have the first credit card debt eating up part of your income. This technique is called snowball plan. Just like a snowball, you start small, but over time you increase your payments as you pay off debts, which gives you a greater amount of savings to pay off the next debt and so on. I can hear you saying, "But my debt is too big. Will I have to wait 35 years to pay off my house to get rich?" No way! If you have a very large debt like a mortgage to pay off in 35 years, leave that debt off your list for the time being. The reason is simple. Even if you have a high salary and pay larger monthly installments, such a large debt will still take a few years before you finish paying it off. This delay will discourage you and cause the next steps of your total money transformation to be postponed, and they are essential for you to start building your wealth soon. So keep paying off your debt as you always have, and don't try to pay it off completely just yet. Ideally, step 2 should take a few months to a maximum of 2 years so that you're free of as much debt as possible and can move on to step 3. If the biggest debt you have is not the house you live in, the author advises you to get rid of the asset. Sell the car and buy a cheaper one, for example, but don't do this with the house you live in unless you have very strong reasons for doing so. If you find it too difficult, too slow to pay off your debts with just your income, make a temporary sacrifice to supplement your salary. Work overtime, find a second part-time job, do freelance work, sell things you don't use or don't need, but don't sell family heirlooms and irreplaceables. No matter how much you earn, you won't be able to buy them back. There are lots of ways to earn extra income that can help you speed up this process. The sooner you're out of debt, the sooner you'll start accumulating wealth. Let's look at your situation now. You're no longer in debt, but you still have some installments. Maybe you've sold things like your car and other valuable items you used to have. Your quality of life will probably drop for a while, and this is necessary. Everyone who has gone through the total money transformation and is now a millionaire has also experienced this situation. If you used to drive a BMW that would take 17 years to pay off and now you've had to sell it and start driving an old car, your family, friends, and neighbors will think you're different. They might think you're falling down, that your life is getting worse, that you're broke. Envious people are happy about your apparent downfall. You shouldn't listen to them or care what they think. They only do it because now you're not like them anymore. But you don't want to be like everyone else, remember? You want to have more than the average. One of the things that stops us getting rich is the need to pretend we have more than we do to keep up appearances. We go crazy with our money to buy things we don't want and impress people we don't like, who are probably more broke than we are. You'll never be rich as long as you put other people's opinions above your quality of life. Don't do it. The sooner you give that up, the sooner you can live a genuinely rich and happy life. Step 3. Full emergency fund. You can relax now. You're no longer in debt and you have a small saving of $1,000. It's hard to believe, but at this point you already have a healthier financial life than 80% of the people you know. And the fun part is just beginning. Since you no longer have any debts, except maybe your house, and assuming you've maintained your income, you're now seeing some money left over. Let's put it towards the right things. First, let's increase our emergency fund. To find out how much you should have in your emergency fund, calculate your monthly expenses. You'll want to save enough to be able to pay all your bills for 3 to 6 months in case you run out of income. For example, if you spend $500 a month, the amount you need to have in your emergency fund is between $1,000 and $500 and $3,000. The decision depends on the type of job you have and how secure you feel with your income. If you have a stable income, you can focus on saving for 3 months. But if you have a variable income and depend a lot on external conditions, 6 months is ideal for you. You'll use this money for situations you can't control. A health problem that needs long-term treatment, unforeseen damage to your home, losing your job, things that make it impossible for you to work and maintain an income, or that are too high an expense to fit into your monthly income. Use your emergency fund only for emergencies. Buying a present for your mother is not an emergency. Her birthday is on the same day every year, so you should include this expense in your budget. Step 4. Invest in the future. The second place you'll be putting your money is your investments. The time has come to make your money work for you. The plan now is to start saving 15% of your salary and invest it in something that gives you a financial return every month without the shares. There are many investment possibilities. As the author is American, he brings the investment possibilities in his country. But the rules are the same wherever you are. Only invest in something that will bring you money back. It's not time to make a risky investment yet. Your assets can include rental properties, as long as you do the math and see that it pays off. But don't include a car, for example, if you're not going to use it as a source of income. Professional training that can bring you a higher income is also a form of investment. But don't invest all your 15% in it. Do your homework and learn as much as you can about investments before you decide. Insurance can also be a type of investment because it helps offset future losses, so buy some. David recommends 5 of them: life insurance, health insurance, disability insurance, car insurance, and home insurance. Bad things happen from time to time. It's safer to be prepared for them than to pretend they don't exist. At some point, you will stop working because you can't or because you don't want to anymore. Give yourself that luxury. Make sure your money never stops working for you. Step 5. Children's education. If you don't intend to have children, no problem. You can skip this step or replace it with some other long-term goal you have for yourself. Your wedding party, a master's degree abroad, or giving your parents a better quality of life in their old age. But if you have children or are thinking of having them, calculate how much money you will need to invest in your children's education. This can include school and university if they are paid for where you live, but it can also include extra courses such as music, sport, or an exchange program. There's no need to make complicated calculations about future inflation and interest rates. Just an estimate is enough at this point. Take a small part of your salary each month and set it aside for this purpose, so that in the future you won't have to go into debt so that your children can get a good education. Step 6. Your home. If you've completed all the previous steps correctly, you're already living a comfortable and secure life. It's time to focus on one more step: having a place to live. If you're already paying for a house now, concentrate on paying it off as quickly as possible, making as many extra payments as you can. If you don't have a house yet, we've reached an impasse. David Ramsey's philosophy is that we should live completely debt-free, so he suggests renting a home and working more until you have enough money to pay for a property in cash. The author says you'll probably pay a lot less because you're paying cash. I know his advice may not make sense depending on where you live, property prices, your income, mortgage rates. So take your context into consideration. In general, his advice to pay for the house in cash is quite controversial, and many people think it's unrealistic, especially if you have little savings and real estate prices are very high. But I want to add one piece of advice that the author gives to help you make your decision. Getting into debt is something we should only do when there is no other way to solve the problem. And David's advice is based on a fact that is true almost everywhere in the world. People in debt suffer too much when a major economic crisis hits them. The crisis can be global like a pandemic or individual like a layoff, but they will suffer either way. It will be stressful, you'll lose money, and you won't be able to seize the moment to make more money, as you would if you didn't have debts and had some savings. Step 7. Have fun, invest, and donate. Remember those people who laughed at you when you traded in your BMW for an inferior car? It's your turn to laugh at them. From now on, you'll only see your money accumulate more and more, with no debts to pay and a very secure plan for emergencies. And you know what's missing? Fun! After all, isn't that one of the reasons why we want to be rich? Seeing different places, driving the car we've always dreamed of, buying things we like, even if they seem extravagant. Now you're fully aware of your financial situation and know exactly what you can and can't do with your money. Remember that the total money transformation will be in place until the end of your life. Just because you've got this far doesn't mean you can go back into debt or take risks. Keep living sensibly and you'll be able to do much more than you think. The author recommends that we look at the millionaires and billionaires around the world, occasionally a photo of them that has gone viral. It's a photo of Mark Zuckerberg wearing basic clothes and driving a Volkswagen, and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates eating a snack at McDonald's and paying with coupons. That shouldn't surprise us. Do you know why these people do it? Because they have so much control over their money that they know where it's wise to spend it and where it's not. That's why they're billionaires. Without wisdom, even millions can run out in a very short time. Only you can decide where it's really worth putting your money. And don't forget to donate. You'll discover when you get to that point that one of the best things you can do with your money is to help other people. It's common for people who help others to be happier and more satisfied than those who are helped. Don't donate more than you can afford, but always think of your money as a way of bringing more joy into the world. The author provides many testimonials from people who have become millionaires with this plan and offers some useful materials to make the process easier. I personally like the book and agree with many of the suggestions. The only thing I don't like about Dave Ramsey is the fact that he completely disregards any kind of debt. I believe that. Good debt exists, and if you inform yourself and do your part, it can be a great tool to build wealth. Hi, this is another video from the Be a Better Person channel. If you really like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to receive more inspiring videos every week. Thanks again for watching, and see you soon, Hugs.